Good evening, everyone. I welcome all the participants to day 3 session. And today, resource person is Dr. S.M. Biradar, sir, Professor and HOD, BLDA College of Pharmacy, Bijapur. And today's chairperson is Mrs. Sheikh Asha Begum, ma'am. And the topics we are going to discuss today are different types of clinical study designs and roles and responsibilities of various clinical trial personnel. So now I would like to invite today's chairperson, Mrs. Asha Begum, ma'am. Ma'am, please introduce today's resource person to participants. Asha, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Good evening, all the participants. Welcome back to the day 3 session of ATAL FDP. Myself, Sheikh Asha Begum, Assistant Professor in the Department of Pharmacology. Feel privileged to introduce our guest speaker today. It's an honor to introduce Dr. S.M. Biradar, sir, to the audience. A hearty welcome to you, sir, on behalf of the team Nirmala. Dr. S.M. Biradar, sir, Professor and Head of the Department of Pharmacology and Pharmacy Practice, BLD College of Pharmacy. To know about sir's educational qualifications, sir has completed his PhD in Pharmaceutical Sciences from JNTU.
I request participants to mute themselves, please. Participants? Ramesh, sir?
Yes, thank you. So to know about the educational qualifications of sir, sir has completed his PhD from JNTU, Hyderabad in Pharmaceutical Sciences. Sir has completed his Masters and Bachelors of Pharmacy from RGUHS Bangalore. His previous working experiences include sir has worked as associate professor and HOD BLDA's College of Pharmacy, as assistant professor in SET's College of Pharmacy, SR Nagar. He worked as lecturer in BLDA's College, Sholapur Road, and also as lecturer in SET's College of Pharmacy. Sir has a total teaching experience of 16 years. Sir has acted as a BOS member for RGUHS. Sir has research experience on various number of topics like effect of ageratum, conizoids, lin on experimental model of inflammatory bowel diseases, and many more. To speak about his award, sir has an oral presentation award received in Dubai, UAE. Sir has sir has developed IQAC logo and he has registered it. A copyright has been applied by sir and with the title Polypharmacy, a global risk for elderly patients. Sir has acted as poster evaluators for a number of sessions. Sir has received financial support from Karnataka State Pharmacy Council. He has also received research grants from RGUHS and he also received various travel grants. Sir has delivered number of lectures as speaker for number of sessions. And sir has completed his publications of 55 and his presentations are almost 26. Sir is currently acting as reviewer for national and international scientific journals. And for national and international journals, he is acting as the editorial board member. So sir, today we'll be discussing about 2 topics on 2 sessions. The first topic will be clinical trial study designs. So sir will discuss in detail about various study designs like cross-sectional, cohort, case study, and many more. And in the second session, sir will explain us about the roles and responsibilities of clinical trial personnel. That is about the sponsors, coordinators, investigators, auditors, and many more people. Sir, it's our privilege to have you today here with us. For this session, we thank you for taking your time, even in your busy schedule for us. So now I'll be handovering the session to you. Please carry forward with your presentation, sir.
Madam, excuse me, madam. Actually,
yes,
we need to take screenshot, madam. Please ask the participants to switch
sir.
on the video.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I request all the participants to turn on your cameras. Turn on your cameras, please, for a second for the screenshot. Thank you all for being alert.
I request all the participants to switch on the videos, please. Only I can see some of them. Yes, sir.
Thank you all. Hearty welcome, Dr. Biradar, sir. The session will be over to you now. Please kindly continue the session.
Thank you, Sheikh Madam. I'm audible?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Thanks a lot, Sheikh Begum Madam, for your wonderful introduction to the today's Augusti. I take this opportunity to be in front of you to deliver today's invited guest talk, the clinical studies. As you know, all I hope all the participants might be having some academic or some industrial background, and one or other way you might be encountered with the some of the research activity throughout your the academic experience. One or other day, definitely I hope you might have completed your master degree, or some might be pursuing a PhD course, and I'm definitely assure you that this today the guest talk definitely it would be add on to your knowledge, and which are the different types of studies being carried out in the research, especially with respect to the epidemiological research studies. I take this opportunity to thank all the organizers for wonderful initiation of guiding the junior faculty members to strengthen their academic career in future. So I take this opportunity with the chairperson permission. I would like to start the today's session. Shall I, madam?
Yes, sir. You can start the session, sir.
Thank you. My slides are visible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now it's visible, sir.
I hope my slides are visible, it seems.
Yes, sir. They're visible, sir.
Okay. Very good evening, all of you once again, and I welcome you all for today's AICT sponsored ATAL FDP program, and I congratulate all the team members of Nirmala College of Pharmacy, Andhra Pradesh, Guntur, for wonderful initiation to guide all the budding pharmacists to build their career very strong. As the Sheikh Madam introduced to the August gathering, I am Dr. SM Biradar. Currently, I am working as a professor and head of the Department of the Doctor of Pharmacy program. And today is definitely I am directly going to start the session today. First topic means I have been given two sessions. One is clinical study designs and ICH and GCP guidelines. In this first half, I am going to cover the clinical study designs. So first of all, we know what is clinical study designs. So most of the times, you might be knowing whatever the study we carry out or we see in our literature survey and all, different kinds of study are available. So with this, the study, am I talk to the today's organizer, any one of the organizer, Vinay?
Sir,
Vinay?
yes, sir, you can.
Madam, here.
Yeah, you can talk, sir.
Sir, here the scroll is there, na? So it is disturbing to explore the full slide. So can we minimize that one? Now it's okay?
Yes, sir. There are three dots in to the right side, sir. If you click that, their hide video panel is there, sir. In that, you can hide them, sir.
Where it is 3 dot, na?
Yes, sir.
3 dot, record this.
Yeah, this one, sir. This slide.
Hide video panel, na? Right.
Yes, sir. And also hide the floating controls also is there, no, sir? You can hide that also, sir.
Okay, show video panel, hide a floating gas. Yeah, now got it. Okay. So let us start the productive, the components of the today's session. So basically, if you look at the classification of the clinical study designs, we come to across basically all the study designs. Basically, we classified into 2 types, that is experimental and observational studies. So experimental studies and observational studies in detail in coming slide we'll see. Just I'll brief here to understand this classification. So basically observational studies, this is the one kind of study where the researcher are not directly intervening, means they are not disturbing any of the participants, or they are not doing any kind of experiment on the participants. So here in observational study, only what they do is they will just observe the patients, or they observe the animals, what are the subjects they have taken for their study. So depending upon their observation, they will make some outcome of the study. So this is what it is, observational study. Means the researchers are not directly conducting any kind of intervention or experiment on the study. Those studies are called as observational studies. And experimental study, the one more basic study classification is the experimental study. So here the researchers are interested to do some kind of experiments on the animals. Suppose they want to induce the disease condition in animals, they'll take some of the drugs and they'll inject to the subjects and induce whatever the disease what they're expecting to for their study. Or some of times they'll expose they expose the participants or the volunteers or the subjects to the risk factors to develop that particular disease condition. So there is a involvement of the researchers to induce the or intervention in the study. Those studies are called as experimental study. So again, experimental study, again, it is classified into 2 types, that is randomly controlled trials and non-randomly controlled trials. In detail, we'll see in the further slides ahead. So here just I'll brief the definition of what is randomly controlled trials. So randomly controlled trial means this is the selection of the participants. Suppose I want to have the 12 members of the my research topic, and I want to divide into two groups, 6 plus 6. So I should not be I should not be, or researchers should not be given an opportunity to select them depending upon their interest. So unknowingly or very randomly we need to classify them, that is group 1 and group 2, without making any bias. So that type of selection is called as randomly controlled trials. In non-randomly controlled trials, we are selecting the participants according to our need. Suppose our the investigational product is having or susceptible to have the anti-obesity property, so we need to select the obese patients only. So this is what it is, non-randomized. So we need to have the specific characteristic in the participants. So that type of study is called as non-randomized study. So this two basically comes for the experimental part. And the observational study, again, it is classified into the analytical control and a descriptive control. So here descriptive control, again, basically classified into ecological study, cross-sectional study, case reports and case series, and analytical, again, classified into core and case control study. So individual type of the clinical study designs we will discuss in further slides. So here, one classification I have shown you, the classification of the clinical study designs. So some of the authors, they classify the clinical study into some different manner. More or less, all the classification of different authors are having the same motto. The only thing is, some of the authors or some of the designers, what they do, they'll basically classify the observational study into two types, that is experimental and analytical. So some slides verification will be there on all the field regarding the classification of the studies in the study designs. So this is the basic classification of the study design. So so all the participants, one thing I would like to tell you here, if you have any doubts, at that point only you can ask me. Don't worry that it may disturb the presenter or something else. So if you don't understand that particular point, so we may not be understanding the next part of the presentation. So wherever you have the doubts, immediately you can ask. You can raise the this one hand, or you can directly raise your voice and let me explain just what is your doubt. So the clinical study designs are the most set of methods and procedures used to collect and analyze the data in the study. So what is the basic, the motto or objective of the clinical study designs? It is nothing but what? It is a method. It is a procedure to collect the data and analyze it. Suppose I want to do, suppose I have done some kind of research work. So what would be the evidence for that I have done the research, and what would be the evidence that this is the outcome of the research? For that, we should keep the certain documents in terms of methods, in terms of procedures. So whenever you want to carry out any kind of research activity, we have to follow certain procedures. We have to follow certain methods. So when you perform this kind of methods and procedures, and you outcome of those procedures, what you got it from your research study, so those studies are called as outcome data. So if you analyze those data, that is nothing but what? Your clinical study design or your clinical study outcome. So broadly speaking, there is only two types of clinical study design. One is a descriptive study, and another one is analytical study. Descriptive study are the most of the times observation-based study. So here, again, I told you in the last slide, what is observation studies. So descriptive study comes under as example of the descriptive study example is the observation study. So which describes the pattern of the disease occurrence in relation to variables such as person, place, and time. Suppose one example I would like to give you here. Suppose in case of rainy season, if you are exposed to the rain, and immediately the next day you will become the cold. You will be having the sneezing and congestion of your nose. So what is this? So you are exposed to the cold climate and you got the cold. So this is nothing but what? Just you have not done anything. Just you observed the patient here and you got come to know that. So when the participant is exposed to the cold, they got some of the symptoms, that is sneezing and nasal congestion. So and you draw the outcome. So when the person or participant is exposed to the cold, they'll be having these kind of symptoms. So you didn't do any kind of intervention. You didn't ask the patients to expose to the cold. You didn't ask the patient to expose to the rain. The only thing is they on themselves they went to the exposed to the rain and they got a cold. So you just observed and you are correlated. So here you didn't do any kind of work here. So only you observed them. So that's why these kind of study are called as observational studies. So they're often so this kind of study give a first questions. Suppose you assumed in observation study you are assuming. So what is the proof that it is because of the cold these symptoms has developed? For that again you have to do certain kind of the research activity to get the more data, to get the more evidences. So that's what they are often the first step or initial inquiry into the new topic, event or disease or condition. So this is what it is, where it is giving most of the times observation study gives you the new topic to carry out in future. So certain the descriptive the studies have certain characteristics. It describes the specific characteristics in a population of interest. Means so whatever you want to study, they represent some of the characters. So that's what it is descriptive. The most common forms of the descriptive examples are case reports and case series. So what happens in case reports and what happens in case series, we will study in the next slides. So in case reports, just briefly, I'll explain you here. We discuss our experience with the patient symptoms, signs and diagnosis and the treatment. Suppose, so most of the times, the PharmD students, they might be having the lot of experience with this, the case reports or the case series. Because when you take any kind of activity, when you attend during the ward rounds, if you see one case, you will automatically, when you study the whole report of that case, you come to know that what happens to the case and what was the problem. Suppose one example I can give you here in respect to chapter this one case report only I'll give otherwise. So that's what in these case reports and case series are the examples of these descriptive studies. Then another one is the analytical studies. So analytical studies again basically classified into two types, that is observational and experimental. So observational studies are that we conduct without any intervention, as I explained you earlier, or any experiment. So we are not doing any kind of intervention or any experience. So that's what it is called as observational study. Am I audible? Hello.
Yes.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Okay. In those studies, we purely observe outcomes. And on the other hand, if you do any kind of experiment in the animals or in the human beings, so those type of studies are called as experimental or intervention studies. So most of the times observation studies include many subtypes. Some of are explained here, that is cross-sectional study. So let us discuss some of the definition of the cross-sectional study. Suppose you might have exposed most of the times when you do a review of literature. Most of the times when you conduct a review of literature as a part of our the PhD program or the PG program or project work, we follow this review of literature. So during the review of literature, we are exposed to, or we are forced to see most of the different type of studies. Some are cross-section study, some are meta-analysis study, some are case reports, some are the research studies, that is interventional study or experimental studies. So a lot of the different type of the research activity we conduct, but all the study designs have got their own importance. So in one or other condition, definitely they are contributing to an extent to make our our research outcome more evidence based. So let us see what is cross sectional study. So this study design is transverse, where we take a specific sample at a specific time without any follow-up. So here, what is cross-sectional? Here, without doing any kind of preparation, suppose just you thought, so I'll take around 100 people and let us see what they are suffering from in particular summer, in particular winter, particular some other seasonals. So, and they represent certain specific characters doing their particular seasonal wise, then this type of study are called as the cross-sectional study. This study, cross-sectional study, allows us to calculate the frequency of a disease or prevalence of a disease, what is oftenity of a disease with respect to risk factors. Suppose examples. Here, some of the examples we could give here is the smokers, the chain smoker, the smokers may have the opportunity to develop the asthma or COPD. So this is what it is. Randomly, we don't know whether they were having or not, but only on off suddenly you collect 100 people and you ask them, do you have the smoke regularly? If they say yes, and you collect into your study, and you like this 100 people you collect and you see what is the outcome. So in that, most of the people are suffering from the COPD, means you can correlate that smoking may induce the asthma or COPD. So this is what it is, the cross-sectional study. So one example we have given here. Suppose you want to know the prevalence. Prevalence means oftenity, how oftenly it is happens. So suppose if you want to know what is the prevalence of migraine in the population, or we can conduct a cross-section study whereby we can take the sample from the population and calculate the number of the patients with the migraine headache. Suppose one factor might be a common to develop the migraine among the some kind of the people. Suppose sometimes what happens, especially vegetarians, when vegetarians are exposed, all pure vegetarians I'm talking about, when pure vegetarians are exposed to a on of sudden exposed to a non-vegetarian food, so they may get start the headache. So this is what it is. It happens on of suddenly because of that particular risk factor. So when you study these kind of activity or research, those studies are called as cross-sectional study. So one more example we could see here. Let me see whether it is active or not. It got it. Let us see. See, here it is a one cross-sectional study they have conducted. So what is the title? Am I audible?
Sir, you're audible, but still your screen is showing slides, sir, not that link.
That link you're not able to see now?
No, sir.
Oh, in my laptop it is open now. That link is open.
You must have shared your screen, only this particular thing, sir. You can change that option, sir.
That sharing
share
option.
screen.
Okay, just a minute. Where is this? Yes. Now can you see?
Yes, sir. We can see.
So we were discussing regarding the cross-sectional study. So this one example I have taken, the diabetes and stroke. So they're just tried out to find out what is the relationship between diabetes and stroke. So here you could see that the result describes for the first time here. No, just a minute, I'll show you. What we need to see, what is the correlation between this. The result describes for the first time the importance of the deprivation of work and partners as a primary prognostic risk factors for diabetes. And here the diabetes is risk factors for those who don't work or they lost their the partner. And moreover, the same factor was proved to be a primary prognostic risk factors for both stroke and diabetes. So here, moreover, the same factor was proved to be a primary diagnostic risk factors for both stroke and diabetes, which implies the nexus between the diabetes and the stroke. Nexus means it correlates, which correlates between the. So here, if you go through, I'll share the my slides to you all afterwards. When you go to this full length article, you come to know that how it is responsible to develop the diabetes, means diabetic for patient. So here we come to know that here. The patients who are non-workers physically and they have lost their parents, they are prone to have the diabetes, and same risk factors if it does not get addressed properly, it may get converted into risk factor for the stroke. So that's what here non-workers are prone to have the development of the diabetes and stroke. So this is how a cross-sectional study can be framed out: the diabetes mellitus and the stroke. That is what is the nexus between these two. So like this, we can make out so many the things. So can you see the slides now? My original slides. Can you see original slides now? Can you see?
No, sir. Like,
just a
we
minute.
need to.
Yeah, I'm shifting. Now? Now can you see?
Yes, sir. Sir, there is a question, like a issue from the audience that they want to know the her name is Madhavi, and she didn't understand the conclusion, sir. If you don't mind, can you repeat the conclusion?
Yes. Sure. Can you see the slides now?
Yes, sir. We can see the slides now, sir.
Okay, just I want to make it the bigger one here.
Above slideshow option is there, no, sir. You can click that also, sir.
Now it's okay. Now it's okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll come to that the pointer. Just
Yes, sir.
just I'll hide here. Okay. So under this, we were discussing the cross-sectional study. The article what I have shown is that is indicates that you can go through that article full text afterwards. So what they have described is they have collected around 2,000 patients they have collected, and they have taken the history of their patient. Means they were actually men widows. Means their wives were expired. They were men widows, and they have collected for the study, and they have seen that what is their nature of work. They have lost their work also. Means work in the sense their occupation they have lost. So they have become immobile. So due to these two factors, they have become following the sedentary lifestyle, and they got they're prone to develop a diabetes. And this the risk factors again, if it is not get treated or the preventative measures they have not started, so it may get converted into a progression of the diabetes of the stroke. So that's what so we can correlate here that immobility or inactivity of a patient may related to the diabetes and stroke. So this is how we need to correlate the risk factors and development of the disease in cross-sectional study. I hope it is understood. Yes, Madhavi? Shall we move to next?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We can move to next.
And here, cohort study. So what is this cohort study? So in this cohort study, we compare two samples from a population. One sample with risk factors and while other lack of risk factors. So what exactly we do here is cohort study. We take two samples. Means whatever the whatever you suppose I want to study this one. I want to study how the smoking may be responsible for hypertension. So I'll do. I want to study this one, whether the smoking is responsible for development of the hypertension. So what I do, I'll select around 100 patients, and I'll divide into group 1 and group 2. Each group containing 50 members. So under group 1, I take the people of group 1 who are non-smokers, and I take a people in group B of smokers. So I have taken the 100 people, I divided into two parts, group 1 and group 2. Group 1 people are smokers, group 2 people are non-smokers. So then I'll check their the blood pressure. So I'll check the blood pressure of group 1 and I'll check the blood pressure of group 2. So that then I come to know that the smokers group, that is group 1, they have the hypertension, and group 2, they don't have the hypertension. So when you do conduct this type of study is called as cohort study. So it is the main outcome of the cohort study is correlating the risk in comparison with the non-smokers. So here accuracy of the risk factor is more correlate to the hypertension. So here we can strongly correlate. So that's what it shows us the risk of developing the disease in individuals with the risk factors compared to those without the risk factors. So it gives the relative risk. So what is the relationship between the risk and developing the disease? So this is called as the cohort study. So this cohort study might be prospective or retrospective. So let me explain you what is the main difference between prospective and retrospective. Prospective is one currently we are doing and future also we are continuing. So that type of study is called as prospective. Means we only see the patient, we only see the collect the data, we only analyze the data. That type of study is called as prospective study. Retrospective study is somebody has previous years, means past data you are collecting and you are analyzing and taking out the report of that or outcome of that. So when you study the past reports is called as retrospective. When you study the present report and future reports is called as prospective. So that the definition says we follow the, in case of prospective, we follow the individuals in the future and current to know who will develop the disease. In retrospective, we look to the past to know the who developed the disease because of what factor, what risk factors. So that's what we can do conduct a cohort study as a prospective study or cohort as a retrospective also. In this study design, so here one example is just I would like to give you here to find out the relative risk of developing the chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, that is COPD, among the smokers who take a samples including the smokers and non-smokers. When we calculate the number of individuals with the COPD among both, so we come to know that immediately here. So when smokers develops the COPD, so it is indicating the smoking is the risk factors for the developing the COPD. When non-smoker didn't get the COPD, that indicates that so the risk factor is only the smoking for developing the COPD. So this is how these two groups, one is control group, another one is risk group. So this, when you compare these two groups, we come to know that so this is the relationship between the risk factors and developing the disease. So this is about the cohort study. So here one more this one example is there. You can see afterwards. And case control study. What is case control study? We do conduct this type of study comparing two groups. Case control. One group is the disease control and another group is without disease control. Suppose most of the times here we do conduct this type of case control study in preclinical. Preclinical means when you do conduct the animals. Suppose you are planning to conduct one anti-diabetic property screening. Suppose you have one investigation product, you are suspecting that it might be having a anti-diabetic property. So how do you do that? For that, what we have to do, we have to take a first two groups, each group containing six animals. You say the group 1, the control. You say group B, the disease control. So how do you make group 2 as a disease control? For that, we may need to inject certain chemical substances like alloxone. We need to induce to the group B. So when you induce the alloxone to the group B, they develop the diabetes condition. So when you compare the group B blood glucose with the group A, where you are not induced the alloxan, then it automatically shows that group B, the animals are elevated blood sugar level. So that indicates that it is induced the disease. The alloxan induced the disease. So when you conduct this type of study comparatively with respect to control group, then it is called as case control study. Any doubt here? Yes, audience, any doubt? You can ask me any doubt.
No, sir, you can continue, sir.
Okay. So here, this is always most of the times a retrospective study. So here the main aim of the case control study is to find out the odd of having the risk factors or exposure if the individual has the specific disease. To here we need to actually find out the odd ratio. So what is this odd ratio? So for this, we need to I would like to give you an example for this to understand what is odd ratio. So if odd ratio is very high, the probability of getting the disease is very high. Suppose one common examples means non pharmacological example I would like to give you here. Suppose one horse, racing horse, you might be knowing. So one horse is having capacity to which participated in 100 races and won the 20 races. Suppose one horse participating in 100 races and won the 20 race. So what would be the odd ratio of it? Means what would be the success rate of that winning capacity of that horse? So when you calculate success rate of that winning capacity is nothing but what? Odd ratio. Suppose in this case 100 it is participation rate and it 1 is 20. So its odd ratio become 1/4. So when it participates 4 times, it wins 1. So this is what it is, odds ratio. So one more example I would like to explain you here. Suppose we want to study a odd of being smokers among the hypertensive patients compared to non-normotensive ones. So already I have given the example of this one. To do so, we choose a group of the patients diagnosed with the hypertension and another group of the CV serves as a control where their blood sugar level is blood hypertension level is normal. Then we study their smoking history to find out if there was a correlations. So same study can be applicable to that example also, this example also, because here we have classified the two people. One people, hypertensive people, one group is hypertensive group, another one is non-hypertensive group. And we take a back history. So in case of non-hypertensive, they were non-smokers. Then in hypertension cases, they were smokers. Then we can correlate that the smoking may be responsible for developing the hypertension. So this is what it is, case control study. One is disease control, another one is normal control. When you compare and you find out the result, then it is called as case control study. So this is the one of the examples I have given here. And what is this case report? What happens in this case report and case series? Let us see. So case reports and case series, or sometimes it is called as case study also, are the descriptive studies we have seen in first slide. These case reports and case series were the example of descriptive studies that are prepared for illustrating the novel, unusual, atypical features identification in the patients with medical practice. They potentially generate a new research questionnaires. Means they'll give the information to do the big research. Big research means the full-fledged research. They give a one the what we call it is research question. They give a research question to conduct the full research. So here what exactly happened means I'll just explain you. So even very recently we have published one case report. So that is tetralogy of Fallot. Just I'll show you otherwise. So it can't open, it seems some problem it seems. So here tetralogy of Fallot.
So here tetralogy of Fallot is nothing but it is a type of the heart disease. Most of the times in younger people it is going to happen, children and young adults it is going to happen. And one case had admitted to our hospital where at the age of 19, the patient was have certain the symptoms of the heart-related problems and admitted to for medicine department. And the doctors were physicians were examined and they given some treatment, and after that the patient got treated. When we have taken the patient history review, when you have taken the medical history review taken, so the same symptoms the patient was developed at the age of 8 years back. So at that time only it was, if it would have diagnosed it as a tetralogy of Fallot and the proper treatment would have given, means they, it is next time the patient would not have suffered with this tetralogy of Fallot. So when you take all the introduction of the patient with chief complaint and how the what are the symptoms the patient developed and where it is admitted and who has seen, what are the diagnostic characters they carried out, and what are the treatment chart they prepared or regimen they prepared, and what is the implementation of the treatment regimen, and what is the outcome of that regimen, and what is the review of that therapy, and you make all the write-up in systematic manner, that called as the case reports. And what is case series? So case series, it is nothing but what? Same topic of development of the particular disease in different sections. Suppose one patient has having suppose if, so this case series can be produced from a single patient also. A case series can be produced from of single case also. Suppose if you are studying diabetes mellitus, initially you have worked on and you released a certain paper, what is the risk factors for the developing the diabetes mellitus. Then in second case, you find out non-pharmacotherapy of the diabetes mellitus. In third series, you have developed the pharmacotherapy of the diabetes mellitus. So this is nothing but what? You have given the same topic in different sections. So these all sections called as case series. When you take the one case and you conclude there itself only, then it becomes case report or case study. So this is the major difference between case report and case series. Then I'll move to the experimental studies. So what is this experimental studies? So experimental studies are nothing but what? Where the researchers are directly involved, actively involved in doing some activity in the participants. Activity in the sense it might be intervention or it might be experiment. Suppose most of the times our pharmacology students at BPharm level and PG pharmacology level or PG any PG level, most of the times these experimental studies they do carry out. So what exactly happens this experimental clinical studies? Suppose you want to just see what would be the effect of adrenaline on an isolated heart. Suppose I want to know. So simply I cannot know. So we have studied the theoretical part. When you give adrenaline to the heart, the rate and force of contraction of the heart is increases. So what is proof? How it has increased? So we have to do it. So then only it will we come to know that whether increased or not. So for that, what we do? We extract the heart from the rat or the frog, and you make the artificial supply of your solutions, and it will make the survival of the heart outside the body. Then we take the adrenaline and we inject to the heart, directly inject to the heart. So then by this DRC of that heart, we come to know that there is an increase in the dimensions of the contraction and rate of contraction of the heart. So we come to know that it has increased compared to the normal rate and force of contractions. So here what you have done, you have some intervention you have done. Intervention means आपने कुछ उधर काम किया है. So because of your work, it is there is a physiological change in the organ. So that is what your intervention. So this is the main motto of the experimental study. Suppose if you want to develop the disease condition in animals or in patients, you have to intervene. Suppose if you want to treat the disease, you have to intervene. That is, you have to give the drug to the patient. So here in experimental study, either you have to induce, either you have to treat. So this type of study is called as experimental study. So it is also known as interventional study, and it can involve even animals models or human models. So in animal models, if you conduct experimental study, we call it as preclinical study. If you conduct this experimental studies in human beings, we call it as clinical studies or clinical trials. Preclinical trials involves animals, and clinical trials involves the human beings. So we, as the topic is relevant to the clinical oriented, so I'll be concentrating on the clinical trials only. We study the effect of interventions compared to another interventions or placebo. Like for example, we have listed the 4 phases of clinical trials. So we know all these clinical trials of 4 phases. So in first phase, our main motto was to identify what would be the safety of a drug, because you are not worried about the treatment or efficacy of the drug. First, it should not be harmful to the subjects. It should not be harmful to the participants. Whether it is effective or non-effective, it is secondary. But it should not further. You should not deteriorate, or it should not give some other side effect to the patient. So that's what first the motto at the first stage is, whether it is safe or not. What would be its the side effect, or what would be its adverse effect? Whether adverse effect, if it is occurring, whether those adverse effects are manageable or not. So that's what our motto is, to assess the safety of a drug in trial 1. In trial 2, then we move to the efficacy of the drug. If the trial 1 is passed, then we move to the efficacy, whether it is effective to treat the disease, we find out. Then third trial, whether it is better than the available treatment, or better than the previous treatment. Suppose if it is don't have any added advantages over the previous, then what is fun in preparing the new molecule to the treat the disease. So that's what it should be, the improvised version, or it should be latest, or it should be very advanced than the previous one. Then fourth one, when it is given to the general public, whether it is on long population or longer period of time, whether it is safe or not. So these are the different phases of clinical trial for any investigational product we do conduct. So for this experimental study, in first classification of the studies, clinical study designs, we have seen that is analytical and experimental. In the experimental, we have seen that some intervention is required. So for this experimental, again, it is divided into randomized and non-randomized study. So what happens in randomized study? So most of the times, randomized study, we ensure that each patient has equal opportunity or chances to receive any kind of treatment under the study, and generate a comparable intervention group, and generate comparable intervention groups. So here, the researcher or sponsors or the investigator are not allowed to choose the participants with their respective. Means it is randomly, it is categorized, and it is given to the researchers to carry out. That is what it is called as blinded, double-blinded the trials. So researchers, they don't know whether these people are susceptible or they are risk for the development of the disease or not. So only they'll be given 2 groups, and you study the your experiment, and let us see the result. So week afterwards, who has made the randomization, he come to know that their drug is effective or not. So here each got the equal opportunity to get the all the opportunity. Suppose example, one latest example we can give you here. Suppose during the COVID, certain 2 to 3 types of vaccines are available, and here the government of India, they did not select this Karnataka people, you go for Covaxin, and Andhra Pradesh people, you go for some other vaccines. Means it is not given. So it is randomly, randomization is done to the public that whichever you want to take, you take. If you are getting the benefit, it's your goodwill. If you are not, but government says that both the drugs are having equal potential to treat the disease. So that's what it is, randomization, without any calculating whether it is Covaxin is good or Covishield is good. Without categorizing, it is given to the public that randomize whatever you want to take, you take. So this type of study is called as randomization. In randomized control trial, one group of the participants receives the control while other receives that. After randomization, then again the next treatment, what we have planned for the patient, that we need to continue. So that is what it is, randomized the clinical trials, controlled clinical trials. So in case of non-randomized, here it is according to our requirement. We do select according to our requirement. Suppose I am planning to conduct one anti-obesity drug. So I have prepared one synthetic molecule that I am suspecting that it is having anti-diabetic property. No, not anti-diabetic, anti-obesity property. For that, if I am given non-obese patient, means how can I frame out my results on non-obese patient? So I need to take only obese patient. So this is just what I'll take 100 people for my study, and I'll remove all the 50 people who are non-obese. So I'll check the BMI of 100, and those BMI is very high, and it said that these are obese. Then I'll incorporate it into my study. So this is what is non-randomization, because I want only the obese patient. So this is how, according to our requirement, sometimes we need to go for randomization control trials. Sometimes we need to go for non-randomized control trials. And some of the other studies also we do follow. That is the meta-analysis. What is this meta-analysis? It's a way of combining the data from many different research studies.
Sir, there is one question from participants.
Yeah.
Randomization studies involves random giving drug and placebo. Is that correct, sir?
Pardon?
Randomization studies involves giving randomly drug and placebo both.
Yeah, sure. It is 100% correct.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. So in this meta-analysis study, a way of combining data from many different research studies. A meta-analysis is a statistical process that combines the findings from individual studies. Suppose it is nothing but what? Multi-center study. Suppose suppose the Covishield and Covaxin is practiced or vaccinated all over the India, isn't it? Suppose I I am interested in Covishield. What I do, I'll take the status of Covishield effectiveness in Karnataka, in Andhra Pradesh, Gujarat, and finally I'll see what is the effect of this Covishield on all the different states, and I'll frame one final summary. Yes, Covishield is very good vaccine, because those people who have taken in different states with this Covishield first dose, they have not suffered for any infection of the COVID in second wave. If I draw this one, so this type of study is called as meta-analysis, collecting the the topic and from the different centers, and I'll study all the different centers results, and I'll make one abstract or summary. That type of study is called as meta-analysis. So meta-analysis refers to the statistical analysis of the data from different primary studies focused on the same question, which aims to generate the qualitative estimate of the study's phenomena. For example, the effectiveness of the particular treatment, or it might be a intervention of the disease. So this is what it is, the meta-analysis. It is same information on the same topic, and we draw, after after studying all the reports, we draw our conclusion. It is called as. Just I'll just see this one. Just one example I would like to give here. Can you see the slides now?
No, sir, we cannot see that website, sir. We are seeing slides only.
Yeah,
Still.
just a minute. Where I need to go again?
Share screen.
Where is share screen here? See, I'm not finding here that the toolbar I'm not finding here.
Press escape, sir, once. Or
Yeah, got it.
Windows. Yes.
This is very important. Just have patience. Can you see now?
Yes, sir, we can see now, sir.
Yeah. Just you see the topic. The topic title you see ivermectin for prevention and treatment of COVID-19 infection. A systematic review, meta-analysis, and trial sequential analysis to inform clinical guidelines. So what they have done under this meta-analysis, you can see here. The meta-analysis of 15 trials found that means here this is the meta-analysis of the 15 trials means they have seen what would be the effect of ivermectin on different these 15 trials. They have concluded they have taken all the information of these 15 trials of what would be the effect of ivermectin on COVID-19 patients of these 15 trials, and they have drawn the conclusion. What conclusion they have drawn? See here, the moderate large reduction in the COVID-19 deaths are possible using the ivermectin. So 15 trial center reports of use of ivermectin on COVID-19 patients indicates that they have reduced the death of COVID when they use the ivermectin. So this indicates that this is a meta-analysis. So same topic. What is the topic? Same is the ivermectin use on COVID patient is the same topic on among different 15 trials they have conducted, and all the trials suggested that whoever is used the ivermectin in their patient in different clinical trials or different the patient from the so this type of you see the original slides now?
No, sir. Yes, sir. Now we can see your slides, sir.
Okay. So this is what it is, the meta-analysis. Then what is systematic review? Okay. So what is a systematic review? So it is one of the type of the clinical research. As it is indicates review, it is a review process. Review is nothing but what? Relook of the same topic, what previously they have done on the same topic. So it is a summary, as it is indicates, it is a summary of clinical literature. So most of the times we do our research projects. Suppose if you want to do any kind of one research topic, we have to carry out a clinical literature survey. It is nothing but what systematic review is the critical assessment and evaluation of all research studies that address a particular clinical issue. So it is nothing but what. Suppose you want to select one model for the your anti-Alzheimer the disease. Suppose you want to select one anti-Alzheimer disease your study, and you want to find it out which model is the best model for anti-Alzheimer screening. So for that, what you have to do, you have to go to the internet and you have to see, collect all the models which are available in the previous days till today, and you have to collect around 50 or 100 the research methods or methodologies or models used for screening the Alzheimer patient, and you have to go through it. So in what model, what symptoms they have screened, and you make a systematic write-up. So in this model, these are the parameters they measured, and this is the outcome. In elevator plus model, these are the amnesia they measured. This is the outcome. In acetylcholinesterase model, they measured the concentration of acetylcholine. This is the outcome. So finally, you conclude that among all the models, this is the best model because most of the people used this one, and they got this accuracy of result. So when you make all this write-up and study and write-up, this type of study is called as systematic review. So systematic review is one of the way to publish your research of interest when you become an expert in particular area. So this type of study is called as systematic review. And this is one another study, that is animal research studies. So animal research study is nothing but what? It is a preclinical studies, and which is not much more relevant to the today's topic. Just I'll brief it. So when you conduct the clinical studies in animals, we call it is preclinical studies, and this is the base to conduct the clinical trials. If you are not succeeded in a preclinical study and if you don't have any sufficient data in the preclinical study, you are not allowed to conduct any kind of clinical trials because human values are much more aware than the animals. So that's what you are not allowed to do so. So that's what preclinical findings should be enough to claim that can be safe and effective, and efficacy would be the definitely more to conduct the clinical trials. So then only you are allowed to stretch your activity from preclinical to the clinical trials. So here, so these are some of the research clinical models or the designs available to carry out the clinical studies. So it's so here one more example is there, which we have carried out actually here. And if you have any doubt, so it is not opening here. You can see afterwards in Google. So this is just brief regarding the different clinical studies available for.
Sir, there is one more question, sir. Which study gives accurate information to know the cause-effect relationship?
Which effect?
Which type of study gives more information about to know cause and effect relationship, sir? The cause of agent and effect relationship. To study about that, which type of study helps?
I got it. It is not cause and effect. It is cause and developing the disease, and the treatment, and the improvement in the symptoms. So it is the question should be in this manner. So here the most of the times your control trials. So control trials, the control trials gives the more accurate result that what would be the cause and what would be the development of the risk factor. So control trials is much more to be effective than compared to others.
Okay,
Yes.
Sir, we have one more question.
Yeah.
Meta-analysis, they're asking if meta-analysis is the pre-procedure of systemic review.
Yeah.
Ms. Madhavi has asked a question.
Yes, it's right. It's right, because meta-analysis frames the platform to analyze the systematic review. It's correct.
Oh, okay, sir.
Okay.
Sir, thank you very much for clarifying questions. Sir, I think we'll be starting with the second session. Shall we take a 5-minute break or shall we continue, sir?
We'll take 5 minutes break. Huh?
Okay, sir, that's fine, sir, then.
Hmm.
Yes, so you can all the participants can take a short break so that we'll get back again in short time to have the second session with sir. We'll
Okay,
be
thank
back
you.
by before 8:15.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Dear participant, don't leave the meeting. Please be online. Within few minutes, we'll be joining for the second session.
Yeah, 5 minutes. Let me
Sir,
have break.
Sir, one question has come, sir, from Ms. Saujanya Lakshmi. How long it takes to write meta-analysis?
For meta-analysis.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Sir, suppose if you want to conduct the meta-analysis, it will take them much more time. Conduct. Okay. If you want to only make a review of meta-analysis, means it will take hardly around 1 month. It's depend upon your capacity, how many articles you have collected and what you want to draw from your collected articles.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. We'll go for the break. We'll be back by 8:15. Dear participants, please take a break and get back again for the second session by 8:15 sharp. Thank you.
I'm audible.
Yes, sir.
Shall we start?
Yes, sir. We can start, sir.
Slides are visible now.
So there is one question from participants, sir.
Yeah.
If meta-analysis is statistical outcome of intervention, then what is the outcome of systematic review?
Pardon.
If meta-analysis is statistical outcome of intervention, then what is the outcome of systematic review?
See, systematic review and meta-analysis. It is nothing but what your conclusion among all the results. So that's what you can see. One example I have shown. Now it is a type of systematic plus it is meta-analysis study. So meta-analysis, why it is meta-analysis? Because it is carried out in different centers. That's what it is meta-analysis. Systematic review means you have studied all the results of those meta-analysis and you have framed your own opinion. It is systematic review. Okay.
Yes, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Both are interconnected.
Yes, sir.
It is a meta-analysis come systematic review. Can you see the slides now?
Yes, sir. We can see the slides, sir.
Sir, you can start the session, sir.
Yeah. Just I'm sharing this one. Can you able to see the slides?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
How can I make this one magnified on?
Slideshow option, sir. Yes.
Slideshow option is there.
Here from the beginning, you can select, sir.
Just I want to means full screen. Just I want to make it full screen. Can I do it?
Here from the beginning, sir. Here at the left corner, it is there, no, sir?
Left
from
corner
the beginning.
where?
Yes, sir.
From the beginning.
Yes, sir.
From the beginning.
You can select. Yes.
Okay. You got it now? Now can you see?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You can start.
Yes. Thank you. Okay, dear participants, welcome you all once again. Again, I am here to present one more topic, that is ICH and GCP guidelines. Before I proceed, that is presentation, just I'll brief you regarding what is ICH and GCP. The full form of these two, ICH and GCP, are this is international harmonization, that is clinical harmonization, and GCP means good clinical practice. So these are the regulatory bodies which makes the investigational product are accepted worldwide. So this is the main intention to come out with this ICH and GCP guidelines. We come to know in detail. I am Dr. Sambhiradhar, presenting here on one more topic, that is ICH and GCP guidelines. So what is the when it has this birth of this ICH is developed? Just a minute. Give me 1 minute. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Audible, sir.
Okay. So this international council, or sometimes it is called as conference of harmonization. So this harmonization is nothing but similarity, to maintain the similarity. So here they want to maintain the similarity of the pharmaceutical products worldwide. Suppose why it is required? What was the necessary to develop this ICH conference or council to be organized or to be framed? Because suppose as you know that most of the medications to be prepared means it will take around 10 to 12, 15, sometimes 20 years to come to the market. So the people are making it lot of efforts and lot of money to come out with the successful molecule. Suppose if it is prepared by American people or it is prepared by Indian people, they should be get rewarded, get in terms of return back money. So what they have to do? Suppose they have to sell its product worldwide. Suppose those people are not accepting our standards of quality, means again we are failure to get the reward or get the money from those people. Or they have prepared the new product which is very good and we have rejected, and this the standards is not acceptable in Indian market or in among the Indian people. Again, it is failure of their products. So to avoid all those ambiguity or discrimination, so they have thought to make the one guidelines which to be followed everywhere while doing preparation or while selling the product. If somebody, if all the people, all the agencies, all the manufacturers, if they follow those the standard guidelines in terms of good clinical practice, if they follow, it is no way of avoiding or rejecting the product, because everybody is following the same standards. So it is understood that it is prepared under good circumstances, good clinical standards. So we need to believe those standards and we can accept. So in with this thought, they have had a one the conference in the year 1990, that is April 1990. The birth of ICH took place at a meeting in April 1990, hosted by European Federation of Pharmaceutical Industries and Association in Brussels. So actually, they had a plan to just have a conference. The representation of the regulatory agencies, it was a the ICH was a representation of a regulatory agencies. Regulatory agency means which controls this product manufacture and their sale. It was a representation of regulatory agencies and Industry Association of Europe, Industry Association of Europe, Japan, and US. So initially, the ICH was prepared or involved by only three countries, that is Europe, Japan, and US. They met in Brussels in 1990 with the primary objective to plan the international conference. So initially they want to conduct one initial international conference, but the meeting, in that meeting they also discussed the wider implementation in terms of reference of ICH, the guidelines to be framed worldwide. So since its announcement of organization changes in October 2015, so from 1990 it has slowly developed into an organization. It was earlier, it was only conference, then they made it into council, then now currently it is made into the organization. So in October 2015, ICH has grown as an organization, and now it includes around 20 members and 35 observers from different world. In 2020, and in last of 2020, they celebrated their 30th year of anniversary. And now India has also become a member of this ICH organization. In around 2016, it has become the member of ICH organization. So this is what just background or history of the development of the ICH. Okay, the International Council for Harmonization was required. Why it was required means in bringing together all the regulatory authorities and pharmaceutical industries to discuss scientific and technical aspect of pharmaceuticals and develop uniform ICH guidelines. So we aim to maintain all the standards while preparing and exchanging the information. Suppose I have prepared one product, I'll exchange all the quality of the particular product, and they have to believe. If they have prepared some Europe or Japan or US, they prepared. I am a member of that ICH organization, means I should believe. So I should suppose it is accepted their Covishield, their vaccines what they have prepared and what we have prepared our Covaxin and Covishield. It is been used by themselves, those country people. Why? Because of the sharing of or following the ICH or GCP guidelines only. So this is the advantages of using the product interchangeably. So with this intention, the ICH was and GCP guidelines were framed. So basically, we'll discuss what was the requirement of all those things. So what does that ICH do? That is International Council for Harmonization. What it do? The ICH of technical, the requirement for pharmaceutical human use brings together the medicine regulatory authorities and pharmaceutical industry around the world. That means they brings together all the regulatory agencies or the manufacturers in one platform to discuss any related issues. And what were the accomplishments of the International Conference on Harmonization? Some success of the ICH include what is the outcome of after preparing these guidelines or organization. It includes the development of the good clinical practice. So with this ICH organization, they have framed certain the guidelines in terms of good clinical practice, which should be followed everyone, everywhere, every country who are a member of this ICH organization. This so they have framed the good clinical practices and common technical documentation, means legal documentation, prepare the investigation product and a medical dictionary for regulatory activities. Means suppose terminologies and components, what are the components to be there or incorporated or minimum requirement of evaluation of the new investigation products. So these are the things they have framed under this ICH organization. So what was the purpose of the ICH? Already I told what was the purpose and what is ICH guidelines for clinical trials. So and finally they have stringent to the concentrated to the clinical trials. First they produced in June 1996 the technical requirement for pharmaceutical for human use, that is guidelines for good clinical practice, that is GCP, is an internationally agreed standard. So once you might have seen our manufacturing unit is GCP certified, means it is certified by good clinical practice. So it is understood that we have maintained all the standards. So that's what that ensures the ethical and scientific quality of dispensing, recording, and reporting the clinical trials. So it is if the unit or the company is certified with GCP, it is understood that they have followed all the standards. So it is easily with without any doubt, it is accepted all over the world. And what was the prime objective of the ICH or GCP guidelines? Already I told this one. And what are the basic guidelines of ICH? ICH guidelines are the set of guidelines to ensure safety, efficacy, high quality of the medicine are developed and registered efficiency. Means so it is nothing but what it is certified by ICH, means it is safe, it is effective, and it is registered for its ethnicity or its standards. So it is understood. So these guidelines have been adopted by regulatory authorities throughout the world. So yeah, all the regulatory authorities should accept. Suppose in India, CDSU should accept all the standards prepared by Europe or any country who is a member of ICH. How many countries are in ICH? So many countries nowadays, around 105, it seems, the countries are part of this ICH. And in 2016, India also became one of the ICH member, and it is actually it is acting as a observer. And what are the benefit of ICH and non-ICH countries? I told ICH, if it is a member, their product we need to accept, and we are a member. We need to they need to accept our products because of the disagreement. So this also, why do we need ICH harmonization attitude? And what are the around 13 principles they have developed for ICH or GCP guidelines? First, there should be ethics while preparing your investigation drug or conducting. So ethics to be followed, and trial risk versus trial benefit means sometimes what happens due to over investment of the money or due to over expectation, some of the bias we do. So we should not do or carry out such kind of bias. If there is a risk, we should claim there is a risk. If there is a benefit, we should strict away. We should tell.
వాళ్ళు చేస్తున్నారు వెళ్ళటం వెళ్ళకపోవడం మన ఇష్టం అంతే. చేసుకోవద్దు.
Hello. Okay, so we should be very ethically. We should be strong. We should not be in favor of money, or we should not be in favor of name, fame. So without all this, we should be stick on to the ethics. So that we should claim there is a risk. If there is a benefit, we should claim there is a benefit. And information on the medical product, the correct information of the medical product we should give. So it might be dose, or it might be cost, it might be sometimes what happens if it is prepared with that very cheaper rate, and we sometimes we say a lot of money we have spent preparing this one. It shouldn't happen. So correct information of the medicinal product regarding the safety, efficacy, or economic aspect or financial aspect should transparently we should claim, and compliance with the study protocols. So we should be the conductor or sponsor or the unit where the trial is going to happen. So they should always compliance with the study protocol. Means they should stick on to the what the GCP guidelines or GCP the protocol says, and all the medical decisions should be followed. So what they have framed under this GCP guidelines should be followed, and informed consent should be taken from the participants. Means it is understood that once informed consent is taken, it is understood that all the risk and benefits are involved in the trials during the study period. We should be explained to them. So, and we should sometimes confidentiality should be maintained, because one recent example we have seen is before the vaccines, Covaxin or Covishield, entered to the general public, some of the trials they have chosen all over the India, some of the centers they have chosen, and depending upon that result only they have given to the general public. So we don't know what was the report during their confidentiality, during their the test trial. So they have maintained the confidential report. So these are what sometimes by considering the risk ratio and benefit ratio, some of the risk is also there that should be kept confidentially when compared to the higher benefit ratio. So due to that one, sometimes we need to have the confidentiality should be maintained, because it is taken by some of the experts decisions. Some small risk is involved, don't explain to the public, let it be confidential. It will not affect, because otherwise the public become panic because they may not be understanding this small side effect. Unnecessarily they will become the panic. Due to those panic, some other side effect is going to happen. So because of all those things, sometimes confidence should be, and we should follow the good such practice. So we need to follow. So this is what it is. Some of the this one. Some total list is there, so that we need to follow. And what are the three main ICH-GCP principles? So basic principles is it should be our right to tell all the facts of the investigation product, and its safety of the aspect should be highlighted, and the well-being of the participant should be protected. So these are the main basic three principles to be followed. And ICH-GCP guidelines, three states that the rights, safety, and well-being should be protected. this thing. Yes, is India is a member of ICH? Yes, as I already told, India is also a member of ICH. Currently they don't have any voting power, but still they are acting as an observer. The representation from India is CDSCO, which is India's Central Drug Standard Control Organization, which is represents India to the ICH. So what is the main objective of this good clinical practice? So good clinical practice or GCP comes or framed by our ICH organization. Yes. Okay. Good clinical practice is an international ethical and scientific quality standard for designing, conducting, recording, reporting trials that involves the participation of humans. Wherever humans are involved, so we need to follow with the objective of ethics in the designing, ethics in the conducting, ethics in the recording and reporting also. So all the stages of the clinical trials has got its own the frames or norms. So everybody has to follow without any violation. So that is what is the objective of developing the good clinical practice. The compliance with this standard provides the public assurance that the rights, safety, and well-being of the trials are protected. So if you follow, automatically it ensures that you are protected with the rights of the patient, safety of the patient, and well-being of the participants. And consistent and participants have their own origin documentation. The objective of this ICH guidelines is provide to unified standards for the European, Japan, and United States to facilitate the mutual acceptance of the clinical data by the regulatory authorities in these jurisdictions. It was initially when in 1996. Now, it is the same exchange of the program will take place among all the people who are involved in this organization. Now it can be among all the countries. So what exactly this good clinical practice says? It's a standard of a designing, conducting, performing, monitoring, auditing also sometimes, and recording, analyzing, and reporting of clinical trials that provides assurance that the data and reported results are credible and accurate, and the rights and integrity and confidentiality of the trial subjects are protected. So again, it will shows the ethics. Then the person who conduct all these trials are sometimes are called as investigator, who is the person responsible for the conduct of the clinical trials at a trial site. The trial is conducted by a team of the individuals of the trial site, then investigation becomes the principal investigator to conduct the clinical trial. If it is conducted by clinical trial team, then the principal investigator. Some trials are individual also can be done. Here that individual person becomes the investigator. Then what is this clinical trial team or person? The person who are involved in the clinical study, all are called as personal. He might be or she might be the investigator or coordinator. It might be a pharmacist. It might be a nurse, or it might be an auditor or financier, sponsor, who may be. So everybody can become a clinical study personnel, or sometimes it is wholly called as the team. So clinical trial team, it is a research study that just a new medical the treatment or way of way of existing treatment to see it will be better way of to prevent or screen the diagnosis of treatment. It will be done by a team which involves investigator, research authority, and auditor, clinical research associated, clinical research monitor, sponsor, and investigator. We'll see individual's role and responsibility in detail. So what is the general role and responsibility of this whole team? So the general role and responsibility are the participants are provided with full information about the clinical trials. So as I said, the patient information consent to be taken. So while taking the information consent, So there is a standard formats are available where it is written in their understanding language. Means participant understanding language, it is written what is the pros and cons of the clinical trials. What are the advantages and disadvantages patient may get. What the financial benefit the patient may get. So what is the risk involved in the being selected as a participant of the clinical trials. So all should be told by the team. General the process. The participants are provided with full information about the clinical trial, and the contents of informed consent should be explained in their language. And reporting of the adverse effect, possible adverse effect or reactions should be told to the patient. And report suspected should be report suspected misconduct should not misconducted. Means sometimes what happens, the side effect of the clinical trials is more highlighted rather than giving correct information. Suppose if you want to reject the participant, so that should not happen. And protect the integrity and confidentiality of records and data during the clinical study. So it's everybody's responsibility that integrity and confidentiality of the outcome of the clinical trial should be kept secret. And some of the responsibility, appropriate training should be given to all the team members according to their roles and responsibility. Suppose investigator is there, he should be well explained and should be well trained with all those procedures which is to be involved in the clinical trials. He should be well trained. So like that, they according to their responsibility, he should be trained first. And the team should follow the GCP and the ICH standards, and should required prepare all the protocols and the protocol to be followed. So this is in general the team responsibility to look after. In particular, and what is the role of investigator? What investigator contribute to the clinical trial? So we'll see one by one. So let us start with the investigator. To whom we call investigator? Sometimes he is called as the primary investigator. It depends upon their role. So this is the who is the person the oversees all aspect of the clinical research study, because investigator who knows every part of the trial. They develop the study concept. He developed or she developed the detailed description of the study, how the study will be conducted, and how it is to be reported, submitted, and documented, and part of the review committee. So this is what it is, the main investigator role. In addition, this person oversees participant recruitment. So he should also see the recruitment of the other people, because he knows what happening in the clinical trial, and to whom I need to select, and what the qualification or skill should the participant should have. So that's what individually this investigators individually should test the recruiters and select individually, and making sure the participants understand their rights and agreement to take part. They also supervise the collection, analysis, interpretation, and presentation of research results. This is also responsibility of investigator. The principal investigator is ultimately responsible for everything in the study, because he knows or she knows the each and every corner of the research, because his responsibility is very huge and very high with respect to all. And the investigator is sometimes defined as a person responsible for conduct of clinical trial at a site, that is a trial site. If the trial is conducted by a team, then the person is called as the principal investigator. And the sponsor, it might be an individual person, or it might be a company, or it might be an institute, or it might be sometimes organization, which takes responsibility for the initiation, management, and financial of the clinical trials. So usually what happens, sponsors means the person who gives money in general. In generally, we think that the person who gives money, that person is called as sponsors. But here, their role is not limited to the only providing the money. He should also provide the lead of initiation, and he should manage all over the sponsor. Yes? Any doubt? Pardon? I'm audible, na?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You are audible.
Okay. So that person become the sponsor. And what is the role of the study physician? So most of the times this physician part is very important because clinical trial means human participants are involved. So compulsory one physician should be there to look after the physiological changes in the human subjects. So that was most of the times this the physician is doctors who work with the principal investigator to monitor and care for the people who take part in the study. They treat the patients according to the trial design, evaluate, and they see. Means here intervention is required. So we were discussing in first session, we were discussing the intervention study. So here the physician, they do some interventions. They give some of the drugs or they do some of the uh, risk factor to the patient, and they'll see what would be effect of this risk factor on the patient, or they see what would be effect of this injected drug to the patient physiology. So they'll check. So that's what the physician is very important here. And they evaluate and record the patient's responses and document. So this is the main responsibility of the study physician. And similarly, nurse. Nurse is also very important. Sometimes what happens, the nurse is the one who is actually involved in the trial, because most of the times the time is spent by the clinical trial person is nurse only with the participants. So they might be very keenly observing the patients. So their role is very important. They can see any small changes which is not seen by our investigator, not seen by your the physician. So sometimes the nurse is very important because she or he is involved in the administration and collecting the data from the patient. So that's what nurse play in very important role in critical analysis of a patient. And study coordinator, who can become the study coordinator? A study coordinator handles many of the activities for the research study. The study coordinator may be involved in recruitment or ensured the participants' understanding of the requirement of the patient and participation. And study coordinator also schedule research meet and complete the research interviews. So sometimes what happens, investigator might be busy with the so many work, because he is the one person who is looking after each and every corner of the study. So for his help purpose, he is appointing one person as a study coordinator, because one clinical trial having many segments. So each segment can be provided with the one study coordinator. So they are individually looking after that particular section of the clinical trial and reporting to the investigator. So this is the main role of the study coordinators. The study coordinator might be one or many in a single clinical trial according to the requirement. And the research pharmacist. So sometimes again depend upon this nurse appointment, pharmacist appointment, study coordinator appointments is most of the times depend upon the requirement of the clinical trial type. Suppose if that lot of drugs, allopathic drugs are involved in the clinical trial, obviously the research pharmacist is very important, because he knows each composition, quantity, quality, and dose, administration, kinetic property of a medicine product much more than any physician. So that's what the research pharmacist play a very important role. The many studies include medication under review research. Research pharmacist ensures the research medication are delivered to the correct person with respect to all its evaluated parts. I mean, according to the standards it is given to the patient, he'll ensure. And of course, the important is the participants. So all the studies which take place in one person, that is participants. The participants are also part of team who consider the clinical research participants are partners in the process. Without participants or subjects, sometimes we call these participants are called subjects. So without these participants, clinical studies impossible, because it is a clinical. So subjects is very important. So their part is very important. So these people are called as the participants or subjects sometimes. So these are the qualification of the investigator. Means he should be well qualified. Well qualified in the sense he should be trained for particular type of trial. He should be having some previous experience, and sometimes he's having some of the coordinating experience with the different trials. So that's what he should do. Investigator should have certain qualifications, and he should be well educated to understand the protocol first of all, and he should have fulfilled all the basic qualities in his. So because a lot of things he has to frame, because he should able to make the brochure, he should be able to have the some permission to present it in front of the IC or review board. So a lot of things is required. So his qualification or his eligibility should be proven first. So this is what it is, his responsibility. And some responsibility means investigator responsibility is he should be ethically principled. He should provide the educate to the all the programs regarding to the other the participants to the program coordinators. You should explain it. What is your role? How you have to carry out, and what is the participant role? What is the nurse role? How you should involve yourselves to collect the data. So he should address all the other participants' role and responsibility in detail, so they can do their work properly and get back the results in correct way. So it should be again a procedures. The administrator should have compliance with GCP course of training and determine the scientific, technical, and administrative aspect of the research projects. And he should conduct the trials according to the GCP guidelines, and should follow all the protocol adherence, and all the rules and regulations to be followed, and should protect the rights of participants and obtain the informed consent form in the right way. In the right way means you should explain all the pros and cons of the trial. So this is what it is, the right way, and maintaining the proper records, and presenting the status of the clinical trials into the review committees. That is most important. So because sometimes what happens, as per the expectation, if it is not satisfied, sometimes we need to conclude the clinical trial in between only. So that's what sometimes we need to stop if we are not getting up to the mark results. So that's what sometimes all the things to be get done. And some of the responsibility of the trials are here. These are the things I have already told. This sponsor, who is the sponsor? I have already told. So I'll come to the directly responsibility of this sponsor. The sponsor first basic, as we expect, his role is the financial. Then he should maintain the reputation, because he's a sponsor means the some share part. If it is succeeded means some share part he'll be rewarding. So that's what his reputation should be maintained, and he should look after all the legal aspect of the clinical trials, and he's also having some responsibility of selection of the qualified investigator, because he's sponsoring. He should not put the pressure on investigator to recruit the substandard the personnels or products or equipments which is required to conduct the trials. So his role is very important while providing all the information or subjects or machineries or any facilities to the clinical trials. It should be all the standard one. And some of the conduct of the trials and site closure. So these are the this conduct of trials already explained. And here site closure, just as I told in the previous slide, if you, while presenting the status of the clinical trial to the review boards, in that it is discussed and it is thought that it is no fun in conducting or continuing the research work, because we are not getting the satisfied data with respect to the previous findings. So a lot of money is unnecessarily wasted if it is continued. Then we need to sometimes close the clinical data, or if the data means if the investigation product is showing severe side effect what we were not expecting previously, and sometimes rather than the benefit showing a very severe side effect, we need to start the stop the clinical trials. So that's what this is how we need to present the status of the clinical trial to the review boards. So final report to the IC or RBI to be reported. They'll take the decision to be continued or what. If they are satisfied, they'll say you do continue. If they are not satisfied, you stop or review. So the same process once again they may suggest you and provide all the data and documentation required at a site closure to sponsors. So if it is planned to close, so all the data to be given to the sponsor or documentation to be given in all the ethical way and return all the equipments. If it is stopped, all the equipment should be returned back an investigation product which is unused, and that should be handed over to the sponsor, and the grants or any financial the support is remained, that should be given back to the sponsor, and a premature termination or suspension of the clinical trial should be done once all the above steps are were conducted. And what is the role of clinical research associate? So this is one of the person who is employed by the sponsor. Means sponsor is the one most of the times is like boss. He's like owner of the clinical trial. He's putting for some of the things he want to see through his way. Means this is the person who reporting to directly to the sponsor rather than the investigator or some other people. He's the clinical research associate is one appointed by the this one sponsor to take his own report. If what we call it is the internal report. So this is the person who is appointed by a sponsor. That's what he is a different person employed by the sponsor and taking all the information of which is sometimes hidden report can be taken out by this clinical research associate. And his role is also means wherever something is not going good or not adhering to the protocol, not adhering to the guidelines, he may individually go to the sponsor that this is the wrong things they are doing, or this is the mistake it is happening in this section. So individually he'll report into the sponsor, and the sponsor directs that to the principal investigator or investigator or coordinators to that these are the things are misconducting, just to rectify and do the correct things. So this is how it happened in with the help of clinical research associate. And auditor. Auditor is very important. Usually we think about auditor means who does only the financial audits. No, in clinical research, the auditor plays a very important role. So auditor, auditor should be a very scientific manner. He should audit. He should audit at the level of investigation of the site, clinical department, process audit. He should do data management audit. He should do the safety department audit. He should do GCP laboratory audit. He should do sponsor center file audit. He should do, because so each and every step should be get audited. Means auditor is nothing but ensuring the quality is being implemented. So sponsor centers file audit means suppose they have done all the trials and the good result they got, they may go for the patenting. So for that all the files should be audited. Means before they present their file for patenting, it should be get audited by this auditor, ensuring that all the data or documents are correct. So that is the main important of the auditor. And the contract research coordinator. Contract research coordinator means sometimes for short period we may require some experts. So for that we hire for 1 month or 2 months or 1 year, depending for requirement, that particular persons. That is contract research coordinator. So with that particular type of work only he will do and submit the report, and he will be out of the clinical trial again. So that type of research is to be conducted by contract research coordinator, and he is having some of the following responsibility. And regulatory authorities. This is one of the important part in this the research personnel. That is regulatory authorities. These are the bodies, means a group of people who have power to regulate the clinical trials. It might be like IEC, IAEC, that is ethical committees, or it might be review boards, or sometimes state and national wise like CDSU, they got right to cancel your all the trials and to continue the. So these are what group of expert people. So these are called as regulatory authorities. So these regulatory authorities review boards, they see the result of your trials and they will take the further steps. Their main role is to review the clinical trial of both registered and non-registered medicinal substances and ensure the drug available fulfill the necessity requirement of safety, equality, and efficacy. And they see that should terminate if any ongoing trial there is a side effect or serious illness or some malpractice is done with respect to the compliance of GCP or ICS guidelines, then should be stopped and implement a regulatory system to register to conduct all clinical trials. They should restrict, they should direct all the clinical trial personnel to stick on to the rules and regulations. They have got authority to tell, otherwise you will cancel it. These are like inspectors. As our academic institutions are inspected by our PCA, Pharmacy Council of India, like this for clinical trials, these are the inspectors. And I'm audible, na? Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You're audible, sir.
Yeah. Okay, all the participants are listening or not? Because nobody is responding. That's what.
Yes, sir. Everyone is.
Sir, actually, they are asking comments, sir, in chat box.
Yeah. Okay.
They are listening, sir. They are following, and also they are asking comments also.
Okay. How many participants are there?
Around 40
34,
participants
sir.
are there, sir. 34.
Sir?
Hello?
Sir, your voice is not audible, sir.
Sorry, your voice is not clear, sir.
Hello. No, sir. Your voice is not audible, sir.
Hello.
Sir, your
Hello?
voice is not audible, sir.
Hello.
Sir,
Yes,
hello,
sir.
sir.
Now we can hear.
Now we can. Now it is audible, sir.
I'm audible, na?
Yes, sir. Now it is
Now
audible,
we can
sir.
listen.
Yeah. Just I'm asking you to take some of the screenshots. So let me have afterwards. Okay.
Sure, sir.
Okay, sir. Sure.
Okay. So this is the main role and responsibility of regulatory authorities. Okay, I have done it. It seems. Okay. So any questions you can ask now.
Yes, sir. There is one question from participant, sir. If information about the drug being tested was confidential, then who will overlook the drug intake to patients?
Can you repeat the question
Hello?
once again?
If the information about the drug being tested, so the major question is, if the drug is being tested, then who will overlook the effect of drug to the patients if it is if it is in blind studies?
Suppose the here it's a responsibility of.
Sir, your voice is not audible, sir. No, sir.
Am I audible now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So actually here it depends. It's sometimes the sponsor might be having this authority, or sometimes a principal investigator might be having the authority.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. So, Vinay, sir?
Yeah.
Madam.
Sir, can you share a few words about today's session, sir?
Yeah. So actually, this is very long session, sir. From 2 hours continuously, you are took the 2 sessions.
Yeah.
So, dear participants, from the management side of the Nirmala College of Pharmacy, I'm privileged to be having the resource person, Dr. S.M. Biradar, Professor and HOD, Department of Pharmacy Practice and PharmD, BLDA College. Sir, your sessions are very informative, sir, and you have justified 100% to the selected topic, and also the topics what you have delivered are they're very relevant to the selected theme of the ATAL FDP, sir.
Okay.
Sir, soon, sir, if possible, sir, we want to be having one offline session with our faculty members and also students, sir. So, if time permits, if by chance, if you come over here, sir, we'll plan offline session also, sir.
Sure, sir.
Yeah, sir. So, I will, in this regard, I would like to present the token of gratitude in the form of the presentation certificate to the honorable resource person of the today's session, ATAL FDP 3rd day session. So, to Professor Dr. Biradar, so please accept our token of gratitude, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, dear participants, any doubts from your side regarding this session? And also, dear participants, you are welcome to give the feedback about these 2 sessions, participants. So, this is not one-way interaction, and we are expecting the interaction from your side also. So, from the participants, most of the people, they are asking the questions in the comment box. So you can unmute yourself, and also you can talk few words about the session.
Yeah. I would love to talk to all the participants.
Yes, sir. So, dear participant, please from the participants, anyone, please come forward and unmute yourself. Speak a few words. Speak a few words about today's session.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening, Madhavi.
Sir, this is Madhavi from Vignan Pharmacy College. Actually, I have another doubt. Is the auditor appointed by the sponsor or the regulatory authority?
Yeah, it is actually the auditor is appointed by the sponsor most of the times, because he want to authenticate that if, all the stages are in a proper way.
Then if they change the drug in middle of the clinical study, how can we identify that?
So that's it is actually we cannot change until and unless it is reviewed by the, or comments received by the IC or research review board. If when we withdraw the drug or remove the drug, means if you are getting a failure, isn't it? If you are getting the success, means why we remove the drug from the trial? We do continue. The thing is, so whenever we are either in 2 circumstances, we withdraw the drug from the market, means from the clinical trial. First is either it should giving the very severe side effect on the participants rather than the benefit. That is one condition. Another one is, and we are not getting we are not getting the expected result from the existing current treatment regimen. Something you should be getting better than the current available treatment. So then only we go for the another drug. If you are getting a less than the current available drug result, means who will go for your latest therapy or the drug. So that's what. These are the 2 circumstances where the research review board or the sponsor may ask you people to stop the continuation of the clinical trial.
The results of the auditor will be submitted to the regulatory authority, sir?
Yeah.
Directly?
Not directly.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much. Thanks for your presentation, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yes. Anybody else?
Still any more from the participants? So we need your feedback, dear participants. This is the 3rd day's session of the ATAL FDP. We need your feedback from the participants and also suggestions from the participants. Any more suggestions?
Actually, they're posting in the chat box, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, let them ask also, no problem.
Dear participant, this is not one-way session. You can interact with the resource person.
See, if anything is there, you can talk to me at any time also, and you can have the interaction now also. Because if you see, everybody is learner here. Some of the things I may not be knowing, some of the things you may not be knowing. If you are discussing each other, means we come together to enhance our knowledge each other.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, Prashant.
This is Prashant Kumari from ASN Pharmacy College, sir.
Yeah, please.
Under any circumstances, if the human subjects loses interest in the middle of the clinical trial, what is the procedure followed by the sponsor or investigator?
Yeah, very good question you have asked.
Thank you very much.
Okay. So suppose in case of doing the clinical trial, and due to any reason, not only the patient is showing any side effect, or the patient is not given any financial benefits, or the patient is no more interested in continuation of this one, at any stage, any manner, he can withdraw his this consent from the clinical trial. He has got all the rights to withdraw at any stage.
Thank you very much, sir, for information. And also, you have taken the long session, almost 2 hours continuously. Thank you. We're so grateful to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the participants still having any questions? Thank you, sir. Thank you for being here today and giving such informative session for us. And I also thank all the participants who shared a lot of questions with you and who asked you a lot of questions also. And Vinay, sir, can we sign off, sir?
Thank you very much for joining the session and giving your valuable time up to tonight, sir. Soon, sir, we'll plan offline session, sir, in our college.
Sure.
So whenever you visit to Andhra Pradesh, please make your own time for available for offline session.
Chalapati College of Pharmacy I used to visit, sir. Whenever I come for examination, I will try to visit your college.
Sure, sir. Whenever you come to Chalapati College, sir, we would like to conduct one offline session with our students as well as faculty members, sir.
Sure.
Once again, thank you very much for accepting our invitation and delivering an excellent and presentation, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
And also, I thank all the participants for being patient with us, and also for being interactive with the today's resource person. Thank you very much. Good night, all.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Thank you, all the participants. We are signing off for today. We'll meet again tomorrow, sir.